$70 million. That is the amount of money that Supergirl made in its opening box office, its global box office. And that is how much money it made on a budget of $170 to $186 million. And that's a problem. Of course, that means that it's almost official that's going to flop, especially with its major bad reviews, its middling reviews at the very least. That doesn't change the fact that it has a group of people, fans or otherwise, that are basically trying to uncover for the movie. They're trying to come up with alternative explanations of why the movie failed without mentioning the glaring problems with the movie script, the glaring problems with the movie in itself conceptually. And this is not necessarily a massive problem for the most part, because after all, you're allowed to like the movie. The problem is not that they like the movie. You can like a movie that everyone else in the world hated. If you're the only person in the world that likes this movie, that it's perfectly fine to do. Taste is inherently subjective, and thus that is your right to like what you like. That said, these movies are business. That's what it is, the movie industry. It costs $170 to $186 million to make the movie in the first place, and that cost has to be recouped by the business in order to continue making money and continue making movies, which means that understanding the reason why a project failed is incredibly important, and muddying the water around it is a problem, because then you can't understand why the movie failed and you can't do better in the future. And in the spirit of that, there's a specific idea, the specific notion that's starting to gain traction amongst the industry trades, amongst different YouTubers who really want to defend this idea, defend this movie. And the problem I have with it, again, is that it's super ingenious because it has an element of truth to it. There's a small little kernel of truth in this idea that makes it very hard to fully debunk. But that is what I'm going to do anyway. Welcome back, Knights of Brimstone, to another video. I must admit, I thought I was done making videos about Supergirl. After all, I've already made about I think this is the fourth video I'm making about that movie. But again, this argument really came around, and it made me say to myself, I got to completely debunk this argument once and for all, because again, it keeps on popping up, and when this argument is so woven within the entirety of the superhero discourse, it makes it very hard for them to improve and move forward. And what is this argument? Essentially, the argument is very simple. There's this idea that superhero fatigue, that's the first building block it has. Superhero fatigue, because of that, it has made sure that a average superhero movie, or even a good superhero movie, cannot be as successful as they were in the past, and thus, of course, only a great movie can be successful, can be financially successful in this current era of superhero fatigue. And they point to movies that were sort of mediocre in their era, and they try to compare those and say that, you know, those movies didn't do too well, but they did better than, say, Supergirl or Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four and so on and so forth. And try to make the argument that because of the superhero fatigue, that's the explanation of why these movies did significantly better or slightly better, despite being, in their opinion, similar level of movies, similar level of quality in these movies. And I think this is not at all true. I think there's a big deal there missing when they make this comparison. One of the major comparisons I keep on seeing is this idea that Thor: Dark World, it made, you know, more money than Supergirl. At least it's going to make more money than Supergirl is going to make. And the idea is that Thor: Dark World is a mediocre to bad superhero movie, even though some people say good, but like barely good. You know, a 4 to maybe 7, or not even 7, 4 to 6 out of 10, that era. And they say that Supergirl in a similar vein, and yet it can't make the same amount of money because, again, superhero fatigue. And again, this is partially true because, yes, superhero fatigue is a thing to a certain extent. It did make sure that movies don't make much money as they used to make. But there's another part about people are forgetting. It's the superhero bump. Because of how good the MCU was, it bumped up all superhero movies together. It was an era of superhero movies where even a relatively bad movie can make money. A great example of this, I've always said before, is Captain Marvel. It made over $1 billion, even though it was a mediocre movie. A movie on the same level as Supergirl itself, but it came out in between Infinity War and Endgame. So because of that bump, it managed to make a huge amount of money. So again, there's an element of truth to this idea. But it's not the only explanation. Not only is it not the only explanation that really explains this whole thing, but with it, it also lets Supergirl, the movie, get away with a lot of things, because when you compare that to, let's say again, Thor Dark World, which again, as a Thor fan, I'm intimately familiar with that movie. What you notice is that they're very different movies conceptually. Conceptually speaking, Supergirl is not a superhero movie. Point blank, period. That is the truth of what Supergirl as a movie is. The structure of the movie, fundamentally, is this idea of Supergirl trying to save the life of her dog. That is the idea. The dog gets shot with a dart that's going to kill it. Only way to get the antidote to this poison is to go to the guy who shot the dog in the first place and take the antidote from around his neck. That is the idea. She does end up stopping this guy and stopping his gang that's doing terrible things on the way, but the main overall driving force of what she's doing is not about helping the world, not about saving the world in any way, shape, or form. It's not even about anything selfless. It's about helping something that's important to her, which is, again, a fine thing for a normal story, a normal character to have. Not good for Supergirl and not good for superheroes. Compare that again to what you saw from Thor Dark World. Moving down to its basic, conceptual levels, is a movie about Thor attempting to defeat the Dark Elf leader Malekith, whose main idea, their main purpose, is to plunge the universe into darkness, which is, I suppose, some sort of bad thing. Even though it's not well explained, I talk about this in one of my other videos, I think, it still gives you the basic idea that plunging the universe into darkness is not a good thing. We would like to try to stop that from happening. That's the basic idea at the core of the movie, saving the world. Now, Malekith does bad things to Thor. He attacks Asgard, of course. He injures different people that Thor cares about. He kills Thor's mother, Frigga. And later on during the movie, they also kill, or at least in Thor's eyes, kill Loki. So Thor is not unaffected on an emotional level by the actions of Malekith, or the action that Malekith causes, or the Dark Elves as a group cause. That said, the goal is still the same. While revenging Malekith is an element of the story, it is not the entire idea. The entire idea is save the world first and foremost. You know what I mean? That is the idea behind it. And thus it becomes still a superhero movie in a Thor movie. Saving all the 9 realms from getting plunged in the darkness is a quintessential Thor idea. Versus, again, saving a dog, not a dog, your dog, Supergirl's dog, from this disease that it's going to be, not disease, but this poison that's been injected into it, is not a superhero story as necessarily. It is a human story. It is a story that a anti-hero or a vigilante could possibly deal with. It's even a story that let's be honest, a villain like Harley Quinn could do. But it's not a superhero story. Saving people is an afterthought to Supergirl within this story. Even getting revenge and killing this guy is an afterthought in the grand scheme of things, in comparison to, again, for Thor, stopping Malekith from plunging the realms of the darkness was the main purpose. Killing him, getting revenge for the deaths of his mother and the perceived death of his adopted brother Loki were only secondary aspects of what needed to happen. First and foremost, Thor would have believed he failed if he hadn't, again, stopped Malekith from plunging the universe into darkness. You see this, again, another idea, which is, of course, within Infinity War. The reason why Thor is so sad in Endgame and Infinity War that he didn't aim for the head, as he said, is because even though he killed Thanos in the end, he didn't stop Thanos' plan. And thus, this victory is hollow. That's the entire idea about superhero movies. They want to save people, they want to save the world in general, while they can still maintain and accrue and basically get hit by different emotional things that happen to them, by different actions that are done against them and their loved ones. It doesn't change the fact, the overall idea, that essentially they're trying to save the world first and foremost, and Supergirl doesn't do that. A lot of these movies don't do that, to be honest with you. A lot of these movies are based around the idea of personal gain first and foremost, saving the world secondary to the personal gain. You see this with Inside of Thunderbolts to a certain extent. Thunderbolts as a movie is more based around personal gain rather than it being simply saving the world. Saving the world is something that does happen as a result of the personal gain. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy. Saving the world is part of the personal gain to a long term. But ultimately speaking, even the original Guardians of the Galaxy, the idea is save the planet. I think it's called Kandor. I forget what it's called. Xandar is what it was called. The idea was save that planet first and foremost. And thus, we save the entirety of the world. And thus, that's the major difference. We have a switch in ideas, a switch in philosophy. And that switch in philosophy is what made Supergirl fail conceptually before it even came out. Strip away the actress making these statements, strip away the actual, CGI problems, strip away the superhero fatigue in general, and you're still going to have a movie that doesn't make a whole lot of money because the core idea around it is not superheroes. It is a different type of story entirely. And because of that, it was always going to fail. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. What are you guys' thoughts? Write down below whether you agree or disagree with that idea. Share the video, like, subscribe, all this YouTube jazz, hype it up, and do all that stuff that really helps the video. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming with me on this YouTube journey. Every single one of you are greatly appreciated. And until next time, stay honorable Knights of Brimstone.